What's up? Um, Avengers Endgame. Okay. So I have been thinking for the last couple days or so about.
You forgot this. I love you too.
Okay, so Avengers Endgame. My girlfriend gave me my hat. Where I gave me my hat? I guess it's not a Comics Explained video. If I don't have a hat on. Avengers Endgame. I have been thinking for the last couple of days. Yes, I'm still getting over my cold. I'm still congested, but like I don't have a fever or anything like that. So hopefully I can get back to making videos here in the next day or two. Well, I guess I can now because I'm making this one. Avengers Endgame. All right, Galactus. Okay, I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days. Here's the funny thing about this. All right, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what made it so cool, what made the MCU so awesome, is that it was all based on this idea of like small little Easter eggs, right? Like you watched every movie hoping you would see a reference to like future events as they would unfold in the MCU, right? Like you watched one of the Iron Man movies and you saw like the shield of Captain America. You saw it like in Iron Man 1 and then in Iron Man 2, like Agent Coulson actually picks it up and is like, what are you doing with this? You know, you watch the Avengers movie and then like, you know, Iron Man makes reference to like Earth's Mightiest Heroes. You watch the Thor movie and Dr. Eric Selvig says, well, I know a guy who's an expert in gamma radiation. I mean, you know, you watch these movies and you look for these little tidbits. And one of the funny things about this is that looking at the entirety of Avengers Endgame, Disney owns the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, right? And one of the big questions people have been asking is like, how do they roll Galactus or like Silver Surfer over into the MCU? And I think it'll be an Easter egg reference. I think it'll be an offhanded remark by somebody like Rocket Raccoon, right? Because like Rocket and Nebula are like really the only members of the Guardians who were basically left here, right? Like everybody else is essentially gone. And with that, I could see some scenario or something going on where they're like formulating their plan and Rocket's like, well, at least we don't have to face Galactus. And like, that's it. And like, that's all you just done. And like, that would be enough because it's just like, did he just say Galactus? Like, it'd be like, remember Doctor Strange, right? Remember the Doctor Strange, when in the Doctor Strange film, when Baron Mordo is training Stephen Strange and he says, this is the staff of the Living Tribunal. And for the average moviegoer, they were just like, okay. But for comic book fans, we were just like, what? Did they just reference the Living Tribunal? Like, it's cool because the staff of the Living Tribunal actually does exist in Marvel Comics. Living Tribunal doesn't really use it all that often, but like it does exist. And so it's kind of like, okay, that's cool little stuff. And to me, like throwing them in that way would be awesome because it doesn't, like, we don't need like a huge post-credit scene. The post-credit scenes are huge. Like they're really, really cool because it gives us like a visual. But at the end of the day, the one big takeaway from the post-credit scene is like, this is a thing that's coming. Like this is a thing that's going to happen later on down the line. Like Howard the Duck. Like Howard the Duck exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now because he was in a post-credit scene. And it's a cool thing to see. Right? Like it's a cool little thing to have. And so to me, like if they were gonna reference Galactus and the Silver Surfer, throw them in there. Now, if they wanted to do a post-credit scene, they could. And here's a cool bit about it, is a lot of people sort of have a tendency to ask this question, right? Because people want order. People want structure when it comes to like comic book movies. And there's, you know, people would look at that and they would say, well, if Galactus exists, then how come he's never been referenced before? Well, the answer is because there's never been a reason to. And the universe is a big place. And that's the cool thing about it, is literally like, if you look at the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what do we have in relation to like the greater universe as a whole, right? Like we've basically got the Skrulls who exist out there, you know, basically on, well, I assume Skrullo still exists. You've got, you got the Kree who exists on Hala. You have, well, the reason why I say I assume Skrullo still exists is because in the comics, Galactus destroyed it. Galactus basically like consumed the world and then consumed Skrullos, and then that led into Secret Invasion. But, no, well, it was a combination of things, but that was the big thing that led into Secret Invasion. Anyway, like this, the Kree exists on Hala out there somewhere. If you know, with like Disney owning the X-Men now, that means the Shi'ar Empire exists out there. You know, so out there in you know the universe somewhere. But all we've really seen is like the Milky Way galaxy, and like that's it. But like all the other galaxies that are out there, all the other places that are out there, like if all we've seen is the Milky Way galaxy, which is like one infinitesimally small fraction of like the universe's size, then it makes sense that Galactus is out there somewhere just like consuming worlds, right? Because in Marvel Comics, like not everything takes place in the Milky Way galaxy. Like 90% of the stuff that takes place in space is way outside the Milky Way galaxy. It's way out in like other parts of the universe and other galaxies that exist out there and things like that. And so it is kind of a cool reference because you could do that in a post-credits scene, right? Like half the life of the universe vanishes, and you almost get this sort of Star Wars feeling, right? Where Galactus is like, you know, like I sense a change, like a fundamental change in the universe, or something along those lines, you know. And then like he continues on feeding whatever it is, and then Silver Surfer shows up and says, hey, like we figured out where the source of, you know, half the life of the universe vanishing is coming from, and like it happened on Earth. And so then like it draws Galactus's attention to Earth, which brings Galactus in as a possible villain. There's a lot of different ways that you could do that, but in reality, I think that just having Galactus in the MCU, just referencing him as an offhand remark is awesome. You know, because because what it could basically do is say, hey, like at least we're not facing Galactus. And just like with a statement like that, it immediately introduces Galactus into the MCU, and it shows Galactus as being that powerful, right? Like just that capable. Now, again, like there are people who will be like, well, Galactus couldn't defeat Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, and they're right. I mean, that's a true statement. But what it does is it shines Galactus in a new light and saying, hey, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet is not the most powerful being out there, because he's not. I mean, like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet is really powerful, but like there's like 5 or 6 people in Marvel Comics whose power level transcends the universe and expands into the multiverse. And I'm not even talking about like cosmic beings, right? Like I'm not even talking about like the Phoenix Force or like the Living Tribunal or the One Above All or like Protege or anybody like that. Like I'm talking about characters like the Molecule Man, Owen Reese, the Beyonder, or like the Beyonders, those other ones. I mean, like all those characters, like Mad Jim Jaspers, people whose power is like so extreme that it's a legitimate threat to like the multiverse as a whole, right? Like the Omniversal Development Core, the ability to just like destroy entire universes, things like that. Like Oblivion being powerful enough to like, because Oblivion's crazy. Like here's the thing. Here is the thing. Oblivion is crazy when it comes to Marvel Comics, because Oblivion is basically the representation of non-existence, right? Like the time, so like when the multiverse ends, right? You got a multiverse here, and then you've got a multiverse here. This in between where my face is the time it takes for the new multiverse to form. Oblivion represents that. He represents the existence of nothing. So basically, like he's as powerful as he wants to be. Like he's infinitely powerful, shy of like the One Above All. But like, I mean, you're talking about beings like the Chaos King, like crazy powerful entities. I don't think the Chaos King resonates into the multiverse, but nonetheless, you're talking about some exceedingly powerful beings out there. And so while Thanos is really powerful with the Infinity Gauntlet, he's not the end of all things. And so it's kind of cool because, you know, having like referencing Galactus in that way works perfectly. And the same thing with the Silver Surfer. Now, like again, a post-credit scene I think would be more beneficial, and in reality, I think we'll see one. I think we'll see a post-credit scene because I feel like the merger between Disney and Fox went through early enough to where a post-credit scene can be made pretty quickly, you know, kind of thrown out there relatively fast, and still make it out in time for like the release of the movie, right? It really kind of comes down to the time it took between the Disney deal closing and the time that like the movie gets to the theaters, right? Because like when the theaters get the film, they get it all. They get everything from like the opening credits all the way to the very end, which is like the post-credit scene. So if not enough time passed, that's fine. And again, we probably wouldn't see like reshoots or anything, but again, that's just, you know, it's all kind of intriguing because I have to believe that while we as a general public saw that like the deal went through on this particular date, it was guaranteed long before that. Anybody who told you that like like there was no way Disney was gonna buy Fox, that like Comcast or somebody was gonna get it instead, they were full of hoo-ha juice. Anybody who has any measure of common sense whatsoever knew Disney was gonna get Fox. Like there was no denying that. Like it was guaranteed. Like it was an absolute fact. It was just a matter of when it would happen. But nonetheless, you know, I'm kind of digressing here. It makes for some cool stuff because then like with you getting Galactus, then you have to start thinking about like Doctor Doom, and you have to start thinking about like Reed Richards and those characters. Honestly, I haven't really come up with a tangible theory on how Doctor Doom could be thrown into the MCU. There's ways to do it, you know, but I can't really think. I mean, I can't really think of a way to make it work. I mean, I guess you could and just saying he's always been there, but nobody ever went to Latveria because Latveria is a black hole, right? Like nobody gets in, nobody gets out because Doctor Doom keeps on a very, very, very tight leash. And you could have that in like Spider-Man Far From Home. Just have some point where Peter Parker's like, you know, sitting in some place with the rest of his classmates and there's like a news clip that comes on, you know, and it's like, and in other news today, you know, Doctor Doom has opened the doors of Latveria to anybody looking to, you know, or whatever, any number of things, but just like reference it in some offhanded news clip. There's ways to make it work, but I don't know. Either way, I will say that like I think we will see a reference or even like a post-credit scene with Galactus and the Silver Surfer in Avengers Endgame, right? I mean, the only way I think we wouldn't do that is if, again, you know, like Disney decided to play it safe and was like, well, during like all the shoots and everything, we never made any reference to him because we didn't really know if the deal was going to go through, even though we kind of knew it was, you know, whatever the case may have been. But that's kind of where you run into a weird situation, is because, you know, when it comes to the X-Men and when it comes to the Fantastic Four, there is a little bit of like charting water in terms of like how to get them in there in a way that makes it tangible and makes it realistic. And even for a comic book movie, it doesn't really stretch the lines of credulity, right? The limits of credulity, that it's still kind of like, okay, this is possible. Like that's kind of what people need. But still, you know, I think that Galactus out there would be cool because having a being that travels around and consumes worlds would be a huge change for the MCU, because what it does is it starts to like kind of expand the realm of threats that are out there, you know, and that's kind of the cool thing, because then if the story comes along and it says, well, the Silver Surfer was made a herald of Galactus by this way, then people start asking the question, well, what would happen if like Galactus showed up on Earth and made like Iron Man his herald? Or if he made Thor his herald, which he's done, or if he made the Incredible Hulk his herald, which he did in an alternate reality. You know, what if he showed up and he took like Spider-Man and made Spider-Man his herald? There's a lot of different questions people could ask about that. And literally like there's all kinds of possibilities to explore. So I don't know. I mean, at this point I'm just kind of spitballing, just kind of throwing ideas out there. But I love the idea. I mean, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like, do you guys think that we will see a reference to Galactus and the Silver Surfer in Avengers Endgame? Or do you guys think that we will not see anything in relation to the X-Men, Fantastic Four, or none of that stuff? Because we know the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, the Russo brothers and Feige and them have said like they're not coming immediately, right? Like they're not gonna be like phase 4, right? It's not gonna be like we get like Black Panther 2 and like Spider-Man Home or Spider-Man Far From Home, and then like whatever other movie we get to conclude phase 4, and then we go in, or conclude phase 3, then we go into phase 4, we get Black Widow, and then like X-Men. Like it's not gonna happen that way, right? Like that's not gonna happen. You know, that like it'll be a while before we see them introduced into the MCU. Supposedly though, they want to build up to like Avengers versus X-Men, which, okay, I want to talk about that, which I'm kind of excited about. The idea of Avengers versus X-Men in the MCU seems pretty legit. Like it seems pretty solid. And we'll talk more about this in like a different video, just because it's so damn clickbait, right? Like Avengers Endgame, Avengers versus X-Men. Like it sounds super clickbait. But nonetheless, like I think it'd be pretty solid, you know, I think it'd be pretty solid to see the whole thing unfold. But nonetheless, you know, focusing on Galactus and Silver Surfer, I like the idea. You know, I like the idea of having some kind of reference in there that sort of provides a scope, a frame of reference for Galactus. That like, hey, Thanos is really popular, or really powerful with the Infinity Gauntlet, but he ain't the only dog barking in this fight. Like he's not the only dog on this block that can take a chunk out of you. Like there's some pretty heavy hitters out there. And like you guys as heroes on Earth have no clue what's out there. You guys have no clue what goes on in the universe, but just wait. And eventually we as the viewer will see it as time unfolds. But nonetheless, with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really kind of picking your brains here. You know, what do you guys think about the whole Galactus Silver Surfer thing? Do you think we'll see it? You know, but with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.